Hey there, guys. Welcome to Bedtime Stories. I'm Brad.
I'm Braden.
And this week's edition comes from Wrestling 92. It is the spring 1992 edition of Wrestling 92. It is an interview with the late El Gigante. In this interview, Braden will do the part of Wrestling 92 as I do El Gigante. Every once in a while, something sensational comes along in pro wrestling. Less than 2 years ago, El Gigante walked his 7'7", 435-pound frame into a WCW ring, and nothing has been the same since. Let's face it, wrestling has its share of big men. They gravitate to the sport because they are so suited for it. But giants are rare in the world and rarer in wrestling. Andre the Giant is over 7 feet. But who else? Well, suddenly there was El Gigante. People looked at him and said, "There is the next world champion." He seemed like a sure thing. But they forgot that Andre the Giant never won a world title. So maybe the expectations were too great for his former basketball star from Argentina. People wanted too much. They forgot that success in wrestling is based on skill and experience, not just size. And El Gigante, if anything, was a wrestler with plenty of raw skills, but little actual ability. His first year was one of a trial and error. He won far more matches than he lost, but he was awkward in the ring. Little by little, he grew more comfortable with the new sport. And when he finally got shots at Ric Flair for the WCW World title, he performed commendably. He didn't win the belt, but he certainly didn't embarrass himself, and some people thought he might. Things have slowed down for El Gigante since. Title matches generally come in bunches, then fade away. Now he's at a down point in his young career. He has dropped out of the WCW ratings. He wrestles mostly in tag teams. But a man like El Gigante does not just disappear. He still has his dreams and goals, and he's still 7'7". Senior writer Dave Rosenbaum spoke with El Gigante after a recent WCW TV taping in Atlanta. Rosenbaum found the gentle giant to be relaxed and comfortable in a country and sport that has been his for only a couple of years.
I guess everyone wants to know where El Gigante is headed these days. Not too long ago, you were wrestling for the WCW World title, dropped out of the ratings. Where do you see yourself?
Back in Argentina, my grandmother had a saying, everybody has times in their life. For me, there was a time when I was wrestling every day, and I always won a world title. But that did not happen, and now I am at the stage where I am building up energy again for another run. A man cannot always be at his best for his entire life. He must save his best for certain times.
So the world title is still on your mind?
It is still on my mind, depending on who has it. I do not think the world title is a thing to be owned by one man. The man who has it represents his entire federation. If he is his good man, then he is representing me too. Yes, I came to the United States to be world champion, but that does not mean I must have it now. I can wait until the time is right.
The thing is, though, that when you first came to the U.S., everyone saw this 7'7" giant who had plenty of potential, but few of the moves. You really were unseasoned, but as time went on, you got more and more polished to the point where you became a true contender. It seems as if this should be the time when you're going after titles the hardest, especially with a rule breaker like Lex Luger on top.
That's right, and I will, but I am still young. There is no rush. Everybody thought I was going to beat Flair right away. Bang, bang, bang. But that was unfair. Even I did not expect to beat Flair right away.
You didn't?
No. I know my limitations. It is very important for an athlete to know his limitations.
And what are your limitations now?
Much less than they were before. I have experience. I know that I can never be an aerial wrestler. My biggest asset is my size and strength. It is not best for me to try to outlast an opponent. I must try to beat him as quickly as possible. My limitations are not as great as they were before, but every human being has some, and I have mine. It is no big deal.
What I have noticed is that speaking English is no longer a limitation. You seem to acclimated yourself quite well to the U.S.
I have worked very hard on becoming an American. I am always Argentinian. Nobody can take that away from me. Now I am an Argentinian American. I do not want to give up my heritage, but I want to know what it is like to be an American. You have some customs that I have never heard of before. Very interesting. Your language is very difficult, but I am learning. That is coming quickly.
As I've noticed, what I would imagine that becoming more comfortable in the U.S. makes you more comfortable in the ring, too.
Exactly. Once I was a foreigner in the U.S. and a foreigner in the ring. Now I'm at home in both. I have made many friends in WCW. Sting, Rick and Scott, Barry, Brian. They have been very good to me. They have made, as you call it, transition very easy.
One person who has not made your transition easy, however, is manager Paul E. Dangerously. I guess he's the one man who managed to get in your hair more than any other.
He is a very strange man. He thinks he is funny, but he is not funny to me. Maybe to others, but not to me. He is the kind of man that does very little but always try to stop others from doing things. If I had my way, he would be the first man I would run out of WCW.
And now that Rick Rude is back in WCW, Dangerously is managing him too. Is Rude your plans?
That depends. If Sting doesn't win the belt back from Rude, I would want a chance. I think I would be an honor to wear the U.S. belt. It would certainly make me feel even more like an American.
It must have bothered you tremendously when Bobby Eaton became a rule breaker. I know the shock hit hard in wrestling community, and you know he was once a rule breaker with the Midnight Express, but it seemed as if those days were over. I guess people really can't change.
That is not true. People can change, and Bobby has changed too many times. I think he was sincere friend, but now he must be sincere enemy. Too bad. I learned that is the way things are in wrestling, not in basketball. Although a man can be your teammate one day and opponent the next, only thing is there is not so much hatred in basketball.
But Bobby was a very good friend of yours.
Very good, and that is why I would rather not talk about this. He has gotten in with a bad group.
You're talking about the new Dangerous Alliance with Dangerously. Eaton, Rude, Medusa, Maselli, Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, and Arn Anderson. That's quite a group.
Yes, it is quite a group, but it is quite a bad group. It is unfortunate that so many bad people find their way to each other.
Well, for so long, Abdullah the Butcher, Cactus Jack, Ox, and Diamond Stud were your biggest problems. I guess not anymore.
As we have seen, things change. I have great confidence in my ability and ability of my friends. If there is a challenge, we will deal with it. Problems will go away very quickly. This Dangerous Alliance is definitely a new problem. There is no doubt about it, but it will not be a problem for long. That's a guarantee.
And you also plan on being back in the championship picture.
Definitely, when the time comes, maybe before long.
But you must have some desire to beat Luger.
Yes, but I do not think he will have the title for long. Ron Simmons is very tough. Rick and Scott both want the belt. I can wait. My time will come. So there we go, guys. That is an interview with El Gigante from the Wrestling 92 magazine. El Gigante Wrestling 92 magazine from spring 1992. You can check out our other interviews and other videos on onewrestlingvideo.com, and check us out on our YouTube channel, Brad's Collection and Braden's Toy Show. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.